dreamers, you're listening to inspiring life stories where calm voices meet powerful lessons. Close your eyes, relax your mind, and drift into stories that heal your heart. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll, subscribe, share, and let someone else feel inspired too, because one story can change a life, maybe even yours. The wind howled over the jagged cliffs as night descended on the prehistoric valley, Kaya. A girl of barely 10 winters crouched in the entrance of a dark cave, her small body wrapped in animal hides, her hair matted and tangled from days of wandering. Outside was harsh cold, unforgiving and filled with dangers she was too young to fully understand. Yet she had survived this long, not because of luck, but because of an unyielding spirit that refused to bow to fear. Inside the cave, her stomach grumbled, a reminder of the days without proper food. Her family had vanished months ago, a cruel twist of fate that left her alone, facing the wilderness with nothing but courage and the lessons her parents had instilled in her. She huddled in a corner, her fingers brushing against something hard and crusty. Her eyes widened as she realized it was a loaf of bread, dry and hardened but still edible. This loaf was more than food. It was hope, a fragile thread connecting her to survival, to tomorrow, to life itself. Kaya hugged it to her chest, feeling its rough texture against her skin, whispering softly, "I will protect you. I will not let the world take you from me." Hunger gnawed at her, a relentless beast. But Kaya understood the power of patience. One bite, carefully savored, would keep her alive. Tonight, the rest she would save for reserve against an uncertain tomorrow. She wrapped the loaf in a piece of hide and placed it beside her small fire, its flickering glow casting long shadows across the stone walls. Sleep came in fits and starts. Kaya dreamed of fields filled with golden grain, of rivers flowing with water warm and safe, and of people who smiled instead of vanished. But in the morning, the reality of survival returned with cruel insistence. Her fire had dwindled to glowing embers and the cave was cold. Kaya rose. Brushing the dust from her hides, she checked the loaf and it was intact, a fragile, precious treasure today. She decided she would search for more food. The forest beyond the cliffs was dense and dangerous, filled with predators whose hunger matched her own. Yet Kaya stepped into the world with determination, her small feet leaving prints in the soft earth. The forest was alive with sounds, rustling leaves, distant calls of strange creatures, the occasional crash of falling branches. Kaya moved cautiously, alert to every movement, every shadow. Hunger made her bold, but fear made her wise. She scanned the trees for berries, roots, and anything edible. Her knowledge of the forest, taught to her by her parents before they disappeared, guided her. Hours passed with little success. Kaya's stomach protested, but she pressed on. Then she spotted a small bush laden with berries. Her heart leapt. She picked carefully, savoring the taste, tart, sweet, and a balm to her aching body. Yet she knew this was not enough. The last loaf of bread remained her lifeline. As dusk approached, Kaya's attention was drawn to a movement in the shadows. A small group of younger cave children, no older than 6 or 7, emerged, their eyes wide with hunger and fear. They had no family, no food, and no knowledge of survival. Kaya felt a surge of compassion. She could not let them suffer as she had. She approached cautiously, showing them the berries. "Here," she said softly, holding out the handful. "Take what you can. There is enough for now." The children hesitated, but hunger overcame fear. They gathered around her, their small hands shaking as they ate. Kaya's heart swelled. She realized that survival was not just about guarding the last loaf of bread, but about sharing what she had to build trust, strength, and hope. Night fell, and Kaya led the children back to the cave. She placed the last loaf in the center, dividing it into tiny portions. Each child received a piece, and Kaya kept the smallest part for herself. As they ate, she whispered stories of courage, of surviving storms, of finding strength even in fear. The children listened, rapt, their faces illuminated by the small fire and the flickering hope Kaya carried. Hours turned into silence, the children asleep at last. Kaya watched over them, her eyes lingering on the loaf, now diminished but still a symbol of life. She realized something profound. The loaf was more than bread. It was resilience, courage, and the power of making choices that protect life and inspire others. In that quiet, cold cave, Kaya understood a truth she would carry for the rest of her days. Even when the world offers almost nothing, a single act of bravery, compassion, or wisdom can spark hope and change lives. The last loaf had become a symbol not of scarcity, but of courage. As the fire dimmed and shadows danced along the cave walls, Kaya whispered to herself, "We are stronger than hunger, we are braver than fear, and tomorrow we will rise again." The morning mist hung low over the valley, curling around the trees like delicate fingers, and Kaya felt the damp chill settle into her bones. She stepped carefully from the cave's mouth, the last loaf of bread she had divided among the younger children, safely tucked into her small bundle of furs. The forest ahead was dense and mysterious, the air filled with earthy scents and the occasional distant call of a bird. It was a world both beautiful and terrifying, a place where survival demanded courage and patience, and where even a single misstep could lead to disaster. Kaya inhaled deeply, letting the cool, crisp air fill her lungs. She reminded herself softly, almost as a chant, one step at a time, one step at a time. Her small heart beat fast with a mixture of fear and excitement. Today, she would find food more than berries or roots, enough to last her and the children she had taken under her care. Every breath, every careful footfall was an act of courage. The forest was alive with whispers of movement. Leaves rustled gently in the wind, and the ground beneath her feet shifted with hidden life. Kaya's sharp eyes scanned every shadow, her senses alert to the faintest crack of a twig or flutter of wings. Had learned from months of wandering alone that fear was not a weakness, it was a guide. It sharpened the mind, it made her cautious, it made her strong. Hours passed as she crept along a narrow path, gathering what she could, small roots to chew on, wild berries that stained her fingers a deep crimson, and fallen nuts that offered sustenance in their hardness. Kaya's hands moved quickly but gently, learning patience with each careful pluck. Every morsel she gathered was a triumph, a small victory in a world that offered so little. As the sun climbed higher, its light barely piercing the thick canopy above, Kaya heard the first warning of true danger. A low, guttural growl echoed through the underbrush. She froze, every muscle taut, eyes scanning for movement. A shadow shifted between the trees, a predator sleek and silent, its eyes glinting with hunger. Kaya's heart pounded, but she remembered the lessons her parents had whispered to her in the past. Fear can guide you if you do not let it control you. Kaya stayed perfectly still, letting the predator pass, her breath quiet and measured. She felt the thrill of survival in every pulse of her small body, a quiet pride that she had acted with intelligence and courage rather than rashness. When the danger had passed, she exhaled slowly and whispered to herself, even in fear, "I am brave." She pressed deeper into the forest, moving carefully along a small stream, its waters crystal clear and filled with the soft glimmer of sunlight. The stream offered small fish, some edible plants, and a promise of life. Kaya knelt to cup the water in her hands, drinking cautiously, savoring the cool refreshment. She felt a wave of gratitude wash over her for the stream, for the forest, for her own strength. Each day of survival was a gift, and she knew it. As afternoon approached, Kaya's attention was drawn to movement near a thicket of brambles. She crouched low, peering through the leaves, and saw a group of small children, no older than those she had saved in the cave, huddled together. Their clothes were tattered, their faces smeared with dirt, and their eyes wide with fear and hunger. Kaya's heart ached. Had been alone once, desperate and frightened, and she could not ignore the quiet call of empathy that rose within her. Approached slowly, kneeling to appear smaller, less threatening. "Hello," she said softly, holding out a handful of berries. "Take what you can. There is enough." The children hesitated, fear etched into their every movement. Kaya smiled gently, keeping her voice calm and soothing. "I am not here to hurt you. I only want to help." One by one, the children crept closer, taking the berries from her hand. Kaya watched as their eyes lit with relief, their small bodies relaxing for the first time that day. She whispered quietly, "Even in the darkest forest, there is light. Even in the deepest hunger, there is hope." By late afternoon, Kaya had guided the children along the stream, teaching them which plants were safe to eat, how to avoid hidden dangers, and how to move quietly to evade predators. Her voice was gentle but firm, filled with the quiet authority of someone who had survived alone and learned the ways of the forest. She could see the trust growing in their eyes, a fragile bond forming that offered both safety and courage. Night fell slowly, painting the forest in deep shades of indigo and silver. Kaya built a small fire in a safe clearing, its warm glow reflecting on the children's faces. She divided the last of her gathered berries among them, keeping only a few for herself. She whispered stories of resilience, of courage, and of hope, tales of her own survival, lessons learned through hunger, fear, and determination. The children listened, wrapped in quiet, lulled by both the warmth of the fire and the gentle cadence of her voice. As they drifted into sleep, Kaya gazed at the fire, its flames dancing in the night. She thought of the loaf of bread she had saved, the courage it represented, and the small victories of the day. She understood that true strength was not just in surviving, but in protecting others, in sharing what little she had, and in facing the shadows with calm determination. The forest was still, save for the distant hoot of an owl and the soft rustle of leaves. Kaya hugged the small bundle of bread and whispered to herself, even in the shadows, "Light can guide us, even in hunger, courage can sustain us. We will rise one step at a time." Hours passed quietly. Kaya watched over the children, her heart steady and full of hope. She reflected on the lessons of the forest: patience, vigilance, empathy, and courage. She knew the journey ahead would be long and dangerous, but she also knew something stronger than fear had taken root in her, a quiet, unshakable determination. As the night deepened, the wind carried a soft promise through the trees. Kaya closed her eyes, letting the gentle rhythm of the forest soothe her. She dreamed not of scarcity or fear, but of survival, of light in the darkness, of strength in small acts of courage. She dreamed of guiding others, of sharing hope, and of the promise that even the smallest heart could shine brightly in the world. And beneath the stars, Kaya's heart, the poor cave girl with the last loaf of bread, rested ready to face another day, another challenge, and another step toward a future she would shape with courage, wisdom, and unwavering hope. The forest had quieted after the events of the previous day. The mist had lifted, revealing shafts of sunlight filtering through the thick canopy, painting the forest floor with patterns of gold and green. Kaya moved with a careful grace, her small feet barely making a sound on the soft earth. The children she had guided now walking closely behind her. Their eyes were wide with curiosity, their hands brushing gently against leaves and stones, learning the ways of the forest from someone who had survived its harshness. Kaya carried the last loaf of bread in her bundle, a fragile reminder of scarcity and hope intertwined. She had eaten sparingly, carefully measuring portions, and now every crumb was precious. Yet her mind was not only on survival, but on the responsibility she felt toward the children. Hunger was a constant companion, but empathy had become her guide, even when we have little. Giving can strengthen us more than keeping ever could, she thought softly, repeating the lessons she had learned in her own lonely journey. As they followed the winding path along the stream, Kaya noticed the water sparkling differently today, brighter, almost inviting. She knelt beside it, dipping her fingers into the cold, clear flow. The stream was teeming with small fish, and along its edges grew wild edible plants and roots that promised sustenance. Kaya's heart leapt with quiet joy. "Here is life," she whispered. "Here is hope." She gathered what she could carefully, teaching the children to do the same. "This stream will help us," she said, her voice gentle and steady. "It will give us food if we are careful, if we respect it." The children mimicked her actions, their small fingers learning to feel the texture of roots, the coolness of fish, and the safety and patience. Each movement was a lesson, each successful gathering a quiet triumph. Yet the forest was not without shadows. Kaya knew predators roamed these parts: wolves, wild cats, and birds of prey whose talons could snatch a careless child in an instant. She stayed alert, her senses sharp, but she also understood the importance of calm. Fear could freeze them, courage tempered with wisdom would guide them. Hours passed, and Kaya led the children deeper along the stream, until they reached a small clearing where the water widened into a shallow pool. Here, she allowed the children to rest, to drink, and to eat some of the gathered roots and fish. Their eyes, once clouded with worry, now glimmered with gratitude and trust. Kaya smiled softly, seeing the quiet transformation even in scarcity. The heart can expand with kindness, she thought, as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Kaya's attention was drawn to movement. In the bushes, a small figure emerged, a child no older than 5, trembling. Clearly lost, Kaya's heart clenched. She remembered her own solitude, her nights of fear and hunger. Without hesitation, she extended her hand. "Come here," she said gently. "You're safe now." The little one approached, eyes wide but trusting, and Kaya held her close. She knew she had a choice: protect the last loaf entirely or share it with this new child. Her hands rested on the bread, feeling its weight. Hunger whispered to her, but compassion rose stronger. She broke a small piece and offered it to the child. "Take this," she said softly. "It will help you in that moment." Kaya understood a profound truth. Generosity is not weakness. Sharing what little one has can create bonds stronger than fear and hope stronger than hunger. The child's eyes brightened and the others watched quietly, learning a lesson that would echo in their hearts for years to come. Night fell again, and Kaya built a small fire beside the stream. The children, now 6 in total, gathered close, warmth from the flames and safety from her presence wrapping around them. Kaya divided what little remained of the bread into tiny portions, each child receiving a fair share. She kept only the smallest crumb for herself, but her heart was full. The lesson of the day was clear. Even the smallest act of kindness can illuminate the darkness. Kaya told stories to the children, soft tales of survival, courage, and hope. She spoke of the forest secrets, of the strength found in patience, and the power of acting with empathy. The children listened intently, their small faces lit by the flickering firelight, the gentle rhythm of her voice lulling them into a peaceful calm. The night was quiet save for the soft trickle of the stream and the distant cry of an owl. Kaya looked at the water, seeing its reflection of stars, and whispered a vow to herself and the children. We will survive, we will protect each other, and we will find more than just food. We will find courage, hope, and strength. As the fire dwindled to embers, Kaya closed her eyes, feeling a wave of quiet pride that led them safely, found nourishment, and shared the bread she had once guarded so fiercely. She understood that survival was not merely about feeding the body, but nurturing the heart and spirit. The forest could be harsh, but it could also teach compassion, patience, and courage. And so, beneath the starlit sky, Kaya Hart, the poor cave girl with the last loaf of bread, rested with her new companions. Her body was tired, but her heart was full. She had discovered that, even in the shadows of the forest, hope could flow as clearly as the stream, and courage, when shared, could light the darkest night. The forest had changed since Kaya first ventured out of her cave. The sunlight filtered through the leaves in soft golden shafts, painting the ground with warmth, and the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees carried a calm rhythm that felt almost protective. Kaya moved carefully along the familiar stream, the children following closely behind her. Each step was filled with purpose, every glance guided by the lessons she had learned about courage, observation, and survival. In the weeks since the discovery of the hidden stream, Kaya had become more than just a survivor. She had become a quiet leader the children looked to her for guidance, for reassurance, and for hope. And Kaya had learned that leadership was not about commanding others, but about showing them the strength they already carried within themselves. She taught them how to catch fish, how to recognize safe roots and berries, and how to listen to the forest in ways that might reveal both danger and opportunity. One late afternoon, as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Kaya noticed a distant shimmer of smoke curling above the treetops. Her heart tightened. The wind had shifted unpredictably, carrying sparks from a small wildfire that had begun to spread across a dry part of the forest. She gathered the children immediately. We have to move, she said softly but firmly, her voice calm to prevent panic. Follow me closely. Stay together and we will be safe. The children hesitated for a moment, fear evident in their wide eyes, but Kaya took a deep breath and reminded them courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward even when your heart is afraid. She held out her hand to the youngest child, and together they began navigating the forest paths with careful determination. The smoke thickened, the scent of burning leaves filling the air. Kaya kept her eyes and ears sharp, guiding the children along the safest route, round the fire rather than through it. She taught them to stay low to avoid inhaling smoke and to use damp leaves to cover their mouths. Each action was a lesson in calmness under pressure, and the children followed her with trust, learning that leadership was built through careful, deliberate choices, not panic. Hours passed as they carefully skirted the wildfire. Kaya's legs ached, and her throat burned from the smoke, but she did not falter. And in her heart, Kaya felt a quiet but growing pride. She was not just surviving anymore. She was protecting others, teaching them resilience, and showing them how to face challenges without surrendering to fear. Finally, the fire began to wane in the distance, leaving only smoldering patches and fallen ash. Kaya led the children to a safe clearing beside the stream, where the water would offer comfort and nourishment. They were tired, hungry, and frightened, but alive. Kaya knelt by the water, cupping it in her hands, and encouraged the children to drink, even after fire. "There is life," she whispered. "Even when the world seems against us, hope remains." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Kaya built a small fire in the clearing. Careful to keep it contained and safe, she divided the last remaining portions of their gathered food among the children, keeping a tiny piece for herself. Firelight reflected in their eyes, and Kaya began telling stories of her own survival, of courage found in unlikely places, and of hope that shines even in the darkest moments. The children listened intently, their fears slowly fading as the warmth of the fire and the rhythm of Kaya's voice enveloped them. Each story carried a lesson: patience, observation, empathy, and courage. And beneath it all was a quiet truth Kaya wanted them to understand: the strength to face life, as challenges lies not in what you have, but in what you choose to do with what you have. Night settled over the forest, wrapping the group in darkness and silence. Kaya stayed awake long after the children had fallen asleep, keeping watch by the fire. She reflected on the events of the day, on the wildfire they had survived, and on the growing bond between herself and the children. She realized that the fire had not only tested their survival skills, but also strengthened their trust and resilience. It had shown them and her that even in moments of fear, calm courage and thoughtful action could light the path forward. She whispered softly into the night, "Even when the world is threatened by flames, we can create warmth. Even when fear spreads like smoke, courage can guide us. We will survive, and we will grow stronger together." Kaya closed her eyes briefly, feeling the gentle rhythm of the stream and the crackle of the fire soothe her mind. She dreamed of a forest where safety and nourishment were not mere hopes but achievable realities. A place where she and the children could thrive. In her dreams, she saw them exploring, laughing, and learning, small faces shining with wonder, hearts brave and alive, guided by the lessons of resilience she had shared. As the night deepened, Kaya understood a profound truth: leadership is not measured by power, but by the ability to inspire courage in others. Survival is not only a matter of food and shelter, but of teaching hope, patience, and empathy. And even in the face of danger, a small heart, steady and brave, can light the way for many. Beneath the soft glow of the fire, Kaya Hart, the poor cave girl with the last loaf of bread, rested, confident that tomorrow would bring new challenges but also new opportunities. The forest, once a place of fear, had become a classroom, a home, and a sanctuary where courage and hope could grow. As she drifted into sleep, listening to the gentle whisper of the stream, Kaya made a quiet promise to herself and the children: no matter the darkness, we will find light. No matter the fear, we will move forward, and together we will rise. First light of dawn filtered softly through the trees, painting the forest in gentle golds and greens. Kaya awoke to the quiet murmur of the stream and the soft breathing of the children. Had guided for so long, her body ached from weeks of walking, gathering, and teaching, but her heart swelled with a quiet pride. She had survived, and she had helped others survive with her. The forest was no longer merely a place of fear and hunger. It had become a living classroom, a sanctuary and a home. The stream offered nourishment, the trees provided shelter, and the lessons Kaya had shared with the children, patience, courage, empathy, and hope, were beginning to bear fruit in ways she could see. The children moved confidently, gathering roots, picking berries, and watching the stream for fish. Their eyes gleamed with understanding, not just survival skills, but the quiet strength that comes from resilience and trust. Kaya opened her bundle and saw the last pieces of bread she had saved. It had lasted her through hunger, through fear, and through teaching the children the value of sharing. Today, she decided the loaf would be broken and shared fully. Each child received a small piece, and Kaya kept only a crumb for herself. But she felt full, not from the food, but from the joy of giving, from the knowledge that together they could face any challenge. As the sun rose higher, Kaya led the children to a larger clearing where wild fruit bushes and edible plants flourished. She taught them how to recognize what was safe, how to gather without harming the forest, and how to work together to ensure everyone had enough. The children listened carefully, absorbing not only skills but the confidence that comes from guidance and care. In the afternoon, a gentle breeze brought new arrivals, other children lost or alone, drawn by the safe presence of Kaya and her group. Without hesitation, Kaya welcomed them, sharing the knowledge she had gained, and dividing the food equally among all. The forest, once a place of fear and scarcity, began to hum with life and laughter. Each child contributed, each heart learned, and each small act of courage and generosity strengthened the group as a whole. Kaya watched them with soft pride, realizing that the lessons she had learned from her own hunger and loneliness had multiplied in the hearts of these children. It transformed scarcity into abundance, fear into courage, and solitude into a community. The forest had become a home not just for survival, but for learning, growth, and hope. As evening fell, Kaya built a fire in the center of the clearing, the flames reflecting in the eyes of all the children gathered around. She told stories of courage, patience, and hope, her voice soft and steady, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. She spoke of the last loaf of bread and the lessons it had taught her, that even when life gives you little, sharing can create abundance, that even in fear courage can guide the way, and that even in darkness hope can shine. The children listened, eyes wide with wonder, hearts full of quiet determination. As they drifted to sleep, the forest seemed to sigh, alive with the promise of tomorrow. Kaya stayed awake for a while longer, watching the firelight dance and listening to the gentle whispers of the trees. She knew the journey was far from over, but she also knew that the strength, courage, and hope they had cultivated together would carry them through any challenge. The stars emerged in the sky, each one a tiny beacon of light and possibility. Kaya looked up, feeling the warmth of the fire and the gentle presence of her companions. She understood now that true abundance was not measured by the loaves of bread or the food gathered, but by the heart she had nurtured, the courage she had inspired, and the hope she had sparked. As Kaya closed her eyes, drifting into a deep and peaceful sleep, she whispered softly into the night, "No matter the scarcity, we can create abundance. No matter the darkness, we can carry light. No matter the fear, courage will guide us. Together, we rise, we grow, and we thrive." The forest was quiet, the stream sang softly, and the fire glowed gently. In that moment, Kaya Hart, the poor cave girl who had once clutched the last loaf of bread, realized the greatest truth of all, that even the smallest heart, acting with courage, compassion, and hope, could transform the world around it. Remember, every night ends with hope, and every story begins with courage. This is Inspiring Life Stories. Good night, and keep believing. Have a sound sleep.